Hi, this is Patty from the Mind's Eye. This is the Mind's Eye show, and I am here with Cecelia Burche. Is that correct? Burche. Sorry about that. And we've known each other for a short while, but we've connected very strongly in that short aisle. We like to do a lot of the same things and hang around and talk about a lot of the same things. So, Cecelia, thanks you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yes. And one of the things that I loved, I went over to her house, and her house is like a gardener. I am not a gardener, so I've got like a brown thumb. And watching some of the beautiful plants and some of the stuff that she has out there, and I discovered that she does a lot of stuff with herbs and stuff like that. So, Cecelia, why don't you let us know, how did you get involved in this? And
well, I've gardened pretty much all my life. My mom was a gardener, so I was out there helping when I was really little. Back then I didn't really want to do it. It was more like, you will help. But I have a love for it, and specifically herbs. I also love to cook, so I use the herbs for that. But I have a lot of herbs that are also more therapeutic, and some that are therapeutic and also like spiritual, like old religion, bringing that in for healing. So I see my herb garden for three things: cooking, spiritual, and healing. So
that's not a bad three things to
come
up
good.
With. Yeah.
You know, I enjoy having the garden. I keep that garden close to the kitchen door so that it's right there whenever I need it. And also because we have a lot of critters who apparently also like herbs. So I have to keep them close to the house.
Yeah, I'm a terrible grower, but my granddaughter wanted to have a lemonade stand, and she wanted to grow her own lemons for the lemonade. So I bought a mini tree, and I had it growing, and I got 5 or 6 little lemons on them, and I had it outside, you know, close to the house, and all of a sudden, like in a half an hour, all of the lemons were missing. That animals had taken away. So I moved it inside, and then it didn't want to grow, so I couldn't get any lemons from it. And we laughed on the 10th year anniversary of us deciding that, because we decided it on her birthday, and on her 7th birthday, and on her 17th birthday, the first lemon grew that I could pick from in the house, and I gave it to her. So I've kept the tree, and I've nurtured it, even though I'm a lousy. It's not my
You might be
forte.
better than you know.
Yeah.
And there's lots of different things to grow, so maybe you're more of a fruit tree person than an herb person.
Well, that's kind of a fruit tree, a lemon tree.
It absolutely is.
I just didn't do very good with it, but now we've got about 3 of them over.
Well, as a therapist, maybe it needed more. It needed
a little more love.
Needed to talk to it, discuss that.
I had talked to it, and I did discuss it, but one of the girls that's working in the back room on the show, she gave me a plant, and we called it George, because George Foreman, and then she made 5 other plants out of it, and I had one at the office and one at home. George, and George. Yeah. So Addie has one of the Georges now because it fell on the floor and cracked all over, and it was all in pieces, and Addie put it back together, and it's alive. And the other one I still have alive at my house. So it's, but other than that, if I didn't have Dr. Dawn to fix when I almost killed them. Yeah. And
plants are different. Sometimes they just need another plant to make them feel better, not even a human. So,
yeah, that makes sense.
So, yes. So I've been doing it for a very long time, and I do dry the herbs. My kitchen right around this time of year kind of looks like an old-fashioned witch's kitchen.
Nice.
And they're all hanging from all over the place.
Nice.
And then, you know, dry them and then package them, and you know, give them to friends, give them to people that need them. So
yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
And cook with them.
Yeah. I saw you had shelves of them.
Yes, I do. I have an old cabinet. I kind of, I guess I kind of ham it up a little. I got the old cabinet with the jars with the handwritten labels. Couldn't resist. So they're all in there with all the different ones alphabetically.
And tell us what some of those herbs, the healing herbs particularly, what do some of those do?
Well, I can tell you right now, like with my arm, comfrey, I put it into a natural, like either almond or jojoba oil, and it's very soothing. It's very soothing for if you actually have an abrasion, but also soreness, if you had a procedure done. So, and it's very natural. It feels really good. I always have people test a little to make sure, like on the wrist or whatever, but I've never had anybody have a problem with that.
Nice.
I am a person with a lot of headaches, so feverfew, and what that looks like is like little bitty daisies. That helps a lot. So I dry that, and then I'll add it to a tea base, like a black tea.
Oh, nice.
Or something like that, and it tastes fine. You can add other things if you want more flavor or whatever. But that helps a lot with headaches. And what's really interesting is if you look on the labels of a lot of the medications that you buy at some of the drugstores, you'll actually see things like comfrey in it, or you'll see feverfew in some of the NSAIDs that are there to help with headaches and things. So
interesting.
most of the drugs we have today are coming from something else, like valerian and Valium, things like that. Now, of course, they go through a lot of, I don't pretend to be a druggist, and I do not like give those kind of drugs to people. Mine are more natural herbs that you could cook with, things like that.
Okay.
But those are all in the medications. That's how it started. That's how medicine started. And so it's not just this big leap from nowhere.
Well, I had to laugh because they were finding, all of a sudden out of the blue, I've had a weight issue for a while, but all of a sudden out of the blue, she started finding fatty tissue, quite a bit of fatty tissue in my liver that she was very concerned about. And I worked on another show that one of the ones that run that show is an herbalist, and he had me do dandelion roots.
Yeah.
And I did it for 2 months, and the doctor was like amazed. And then I cut it in half, what I was doing, because she said it was down normal. I cut it in half. She said it's so low now to cut it out. So I just do a little every once in a while. So I still
Well, that's
want them
good.
just to make sure, because I figured fatty tissue is very prone when you're an ice cream freak. So
Especially chocolate.
or fried ice cream.
Or fried ice cream. It's sad because sometimes even like if I go to the doctor and my doctor knows that I do this, and he'll even say, "Oh, what herb are you on now?" And he'll kind of tease me. And I think there are some modern, doctors and things that embrace it, but a lot of them are still kind of afraid of it.
I got
or
to tell you,
think
I
it's
have
not
a
real.
doctor that is probably within a few years of retirement, and she is very medical, but loves to hear. So the fact that hypnosis brought my blood pressure down and chilled me out, and the fact that, the daisy root, dandelion root did so much for me. She wants to hear about it all, so she takes it all in, and I'm sure that there might be a patient or two that she might have suggested it to, and
because
that
it
kind of
does
stuff. Yeah,
It's
she
good
asked
to
about
mix the
Reiki,
two.
stuff like that. So she's very intrigued by the healing arts, and I was kind of anti-doctors because of, as a kid, a problem I had that the doctors were very, how would you put it? They were extremely
By the book?
yeah, and we had some really international doctors that were mean, actually. They're telling my mother, "Oh, she'll be dead by 40," like right in front of me, like they're back to me, and stuff like that. So it's very anti-medical. And my father had a doctor that saved his life, and they ended up going with him. But his partner, I was very drawn to, and his partner was one of those doctors, because I had little kids, came to my house.
Oh, that's nice.
Do you know what I mean? Also, he was very psychic. They can't tell me any different. I'd tell him something, and I was sure it was ringworm. He'll say, "No, I think that's Pityriasis rosea," and sure enough, that's what it turned out to be. You know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. So he was extremely good. So I've been very
funny.
lucky with the main doctors because of me being so. By 12 years old, I was like, I would like to never go to another doctor again.
Which is sad that we feel that way. It's funny because I think another reason that I got into the herbs is I am a therapist, and healing is what I like to do, and the healing has always been kind of, it's emotional and psychological through a therapist. But, you know, it's also physical because, you know, how you feel, you know, and the inner talk that you're giving yourself heals you. Well, I started to see that adding the herbs to that and adding like teas and things like that, or even just adding like an oil where it's something that they could put, you know, in a diffuser or whatever. But the two of the things together were really, really helpful. So that's kind of how, you know, a love for gardening and then also being a healer and bringing them together has really been good. And also one of the reasons coming to you and working with you so much, learning that I'm kind of an empath and I feel, you know, when people are hurting, or I kind of get, you know, a sense this person needs something even before maybe they do sometimes. I mean, I'm famous for being out at a restaurant and having the one person in the restaurant just find me and sit down at the table and start telling me, oh my God, this is happening to me and this is happening to me. And my husband's like, what?
My sister did that to me. She goes, and I've got a niece, one of her daughters, that's like that too. And she goes, what is it with the two of you? It always happens, yeah.
Yes, animals too.
Yes.
So between the empath and wanting to be a healer and, you know, being a therapist and then the herbs, it's kind of all just come together. And that's, I guess, the term that I use now is being a healer, because that's really what I want to do. That's really what I want to come from all of this. Not a lot of money. I'm not going to open a drugstore, you know, an herbal drugstore. It's just the pieces all fit together, and then it's more holistic working with somebody. And if somebody is already trusting you with their emotions and their childhood and the things that are painful to them and the things that they're trying to get through, you've built that, there's a trust that you're going to guide them towards like an herb that might even help them a little more.
Absolutely.
And so many people have tried the psychotropic medications and they get sick from them. And these aren't, again, I'm not diagnosing through medication. All I'm doing is natural herbs that can just kind of take the edge off, kind of relax, kind of help them feel a little better, and always find out about allergies. And most of these herbs, 99% of them can be used for cooking too.
Right.
And most people do.
Tell us like a thing that you use in some of your recipes, some herbs that you use.
Well, I mean, it kind of depends. I told you the feverfew, you know, for teas and things like that. Lavender I use a lot. Thyme is a really good one for several different things. I'm trying to think of all the main herbs that I have. A lot of sage. I have a lot of sage in my garden. I have several different types of mint. Mint in general is healthy. It also is something, if you look at the old religion and you look at it as far as using it for manifesting, or you're trying to kind of, you know, pray over something, mint is something that brings wealth, it brings luck, it brings all those types of things. So it's kind of twofold. I do have chocolate mint, which most people don't even know exists.
I didn't know existed either.
And it smells just like it, especially when you water it. I have, I have rosemary, parsley. I've got
I'm going to
everything.
tell you, I went to her house and and she just said she did it, and all of a sudden I'm looking around and I'm like, wow, she isn't kidding that this is
everywhere.
her thing.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
It is one of the things that I really, really do enjoy doing for holistic and for healing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, a beautiful thing. And I probably, as I said, I've been very fortunate health-wise, like my life, and I'm just getting a little older where you're having some little kicks and bites and stuff like that, and it amazes me. I'm not a medicine girl. I mean, I have to be on a couple of medicines, you know, blood pressure type of thing, but I'm not a medicine girl. I'd rather go that route any day of the week. And it's amazed me, and as I said, it's amazed the doctor. Do you want to go on this? No, let me try something. Yeah. So let me try something else, and then I go on to something holistic.
And why not start here instead of starting, here's the big medication that I'm going to use. So often I think your story about how the dandelion,
yes,
how even the doctor was like, wow, okay, yeah, that that really
And
has
like I
helped
said,
you.
I would be very surprised if she's such a good person, and I would be very surprised if she didn't have other people that she didn't do that with.
Sure.
And I have found some younger people, they were like my kids' friends, that are having problems with the fatty tissue and stuff, and they're not drinkers, so it's not from that. And they're having some issue because we just don't eat right half the time. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And a lot of people
Or we
on
don't
the
eat
run.
at all.
Yeah, a lot of people on the run and everything, so they grab something. And I've had them go on it, and their doctors have been amazed too. So, and that's just one of them, because I go on other things too. I research and then I do it to it. But a lot of them I need just on a temporary basis or something. You know, I'm achy, so I'll take something. Turmeric, I think is one of them.
And you
yeah.
can do that in a salve instead, or with an oil base. You don't even have to necessarily ingest it if people are afraid to do that, and that's like the comfrey.
Right.
So it's the natural way to do it.
And sage, I've just been addicted to it all the way through. I just love it, and I loved it because my kids, I used to do sage all through the house, and when my kids were young, they're teenagers, their friends all thought I was the cool mom because it smelled like pot and I read cards.
I have a good story about
But
that.
it was sage, and my kids would sit there and give me a hard time, and I got a ball that is supposed to be a negativity ball, and I told them that if they kept it up, they were going to get sucked into
You see little faces. Several years ago, we were trying to sell a house because we had moved to this side of the country because we've lived all over. And we couldn't sell it. It was not a very good time, and we were getting a lot of people looking at the house. And I talked my daughter into helping me, and at the time she was a middle schooler. And I said, let's just sage the whole house. So we didn't have any realtors coming or anything, so we walked around and we saged everything. All of a sudden I get the realtor calls. We're sitting outside your house, can we come in? Well, the house, it was like we had had a very big party the night before, so we're tearing around and we're trying to close all the windows, or open all the windows to let some of it out. And I'm like, I guess. So she walks in and she goes like this, and the person walks in behind her and he goes, I feel so at home here. And we all just started to laugh. He walked around, looked at the whole house. We waited outside to get out of the way. And he put an offer. It did sell. And one of his comments to the realtor was, it just smelled like home. We just laughed about it. And I was like,
Yep.
okay, so maybe sage should be in the house all the time.
Yep.
But, you know.
When my kids were teenagers, I saged a lot. Once
A
they
lot of
grew up-
negative energy. Or a lot of energy.
Yeah, take away the negative energy. I had all daughters too. Take away that negative
And
energy.
hormones, get rid of it.
Yeah, absolutely,
So, yeah.
absolutely.
So
So, and then somebody gifted me a lavender sage, and I love it. And when I teach my Reiki classes, we laugh because the bundle is like all destructo, and I haven't found another one. So, I have some other kinds too that I need to try. But
I have several sticks that I make through all my herbs too. So if you want some,
Oh, we'll
and
check
there's
it
some
out, yeah.
lavender
We'll
and
check
stuff
it
and
out,
sage
yeah.
and everything in it.
Ooh,
So
baby.
and they're homemade.
Ooh, I like homemade.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll have to check it out. But it's it's just crazy because I've been, and I'm like, I feel like I'm allergic to like everything. Like I go outside to work in my yard and I love to do it sometimes, but I end up allergic to everything. But some of these other things that we're talking about, I have no problem with whatsoever. It's
Well, a lot of the stuff we buy has a lot of stuff on it, chemicals,
Yep.
chemicals to keep it green, to keep it red, to, you know, have it not fall apart, not rot on the way to the store. That's why it's so important to wash everything. But I think that's probably what you're finding. You're more and more.
Yes. I did have to
Allergic
laugh
to.
too. You'll love this story about me telling you that I'm not a planter, so I'll have to go to you for anything because I bought, this is back years ago, and I decided that I wanted the bushes out and I wanted flowers in the front. And I had some of the woman that owned the house before, it's Mother's Day flowers that came up, and I let it continue because she was a snowbird and she came back and it made her day. She was an older woman, and it made her day when she saw it. But I also planted $120 worth of bulbs, and we're talking like 20-some years ago, $120 worth of bulbs. and nothing came up. And my neighbor that has the most perfect yard, everything is just absolutely, I said to her, I planted all these bulbs and none of them came up. So she had me describe how I planted them, and she goes, Patty, hell's blooming.
You
planted them
all
upside down. Yeah.
Yes, I wondered if that was coming.
The story, yep.
Can you imagine the flower going, there's the sun.
So she told me I had hell blooming with
That's
beautiful
funny.
flowers. So
Sometimes they do learn to grow and go like this, but it's
didn't
a
have
few
it happen.
seasons. Yeah, okay, it's a lot of
It's
work.
been 20 years and they never did that to
They
her.
gave up.
Yeah,
Or
they-
they're still blooming in hell.
So anyway, so I'm so impressed with what you do because my wheelhouse is so big with all the things I'm good at, and I have to admit that is not one of them. So I'm
Well,
very
you're
impressed
welcome
with
to anything.
come play. I
So-
appreciate it. I absolutely appreciate it. So you're opening up other ways as well. Yeah, your own mediumship is opening up some, and
Yeah,
your
and that's
own
really due to
intuitiveness.
you.
Thank you, thank
So
you.
it really is.
But you had it to begin with. I can't make it happen to somebody that doesn't already have it. Do you know?
Thank you.
So I'm just good at giving you the confidence and turning the key so that way it starts uploading. You know.
Well, I would say to anybody listening that you're phenomenal at that.
Thank you.
And you make someone feel very comfortable. You make them feel, you know, if it's something that's kind of new to you, sometimes you feel kind of silly, like, should I really do this? Am I trying to make something happen that isn't there? But no, I mean, you are so helpful having someone really feel it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you so much.
You know, it's exciting. You can feel when it's growing and you're
you know
learning.
what it is so exciting to me is when I watch people opening up and blossoming. And I've seen that with you, and it's just, you're getting ready for the next 20 years of your life, and you're getting ready to make changes, and you're opening up to stuff that's very exciting to see.
It is exciting.
Yeah.
And it helps with decision making, you know, when you're trying to decide what route you want to take with career or what you want to add to it or whatever. So that's been really good. And getting to know yourself better.
Excellent.
Which is something a therapist works on. So
Right.
adding that to it has
Yes,
really been
yes.
great. So I
and
thank
I got to
you.
tell you, even with the whole thing, there is a lot. When I do my development circle, a good hunk of my circle are therapists, and I have one in particular that's gone completely holistic. She's gone out of the regular world completely and completely holistic. And
I think that's where I'm kind of headed.
I have a feeling that's where you're headed as well. And it's one of those things where it's just such a beautiful thing because I have these great nurses that use all this information to help, you know, hospice nurses to help people cross over. And there's just so many different fields that are using it. And I was in the corporate world and I didn't realize how much I used it. I cut out the baloney. They called me the one that I could put out all the fires, because I would cut out the baloney and figure out how I could get people to do what needed to be done instead of talking about it, you know? And it just, having that sensitivity to knowing. And one of my favorite stories, I was just telling a lady today, I had a woman that was a nurse and she wanted to quit smoking, so I do hypnotherapy. So you would think I would do very holistic, very clinical with her, and that's what I planned to doing. And Spirit kept telling me, no, I needed to do this healing garden, which is one of my scripts that I'm known for. And I kept saying, no, but she's too clinical, I can't. And I'm arguing with Spirit, do you know what I mean? And the day of, I saw the woman's mother standing next to her, and she put her hands on her hip and said, just do the healing garden. And it was so funny because I did it. And this woman she was a light smoker, but she had beginnings of pre-cancerous cells and stuff, so she needed to nip it in the bud right away. And unbeknownst to me, on her way to my house, to my shop, first, her mother's first name was Rose, and the car in front of her most of the way had a rose on it. Then another car pulled in front of it. She was kind of bumming because the rose made her feel like her mother was with her and that she wasn't doing this on her own. The plate that went in front of her was her mother's birthday.
Wow.
So she went in there, and in the healing garden script, I took her on a healing. And as I said, I did it for somebody today. I love that script, but I tend to put it aside sometimes and forget about it. And we do this healing tree, we do the healing mirrors, we do like a bunch of things. But at the end, they sit in a beautiful chair and their loved ones come around her. And she stood up and said, I got 3 signs, including a visit, that my mom was with me. I'll never smoke again. And she walked out and never did.
Wow.
So it's crazy. So that intuitiveness can just do so many things. It's just absolutely, absolutely perfect. And I'll bet with some of your work, you're also adding that in. Sometimes you just know.
And adding it without like saying, okay, now I'm going to add this. It's becoming natural.
Absolutely. And the fact that you can sense what your client needs without having to try 3 things first is a beautiful thing. And the hospice nurses, sometimes they could figure out, I call them, and I've done it before, we're helping them cross over. And they're actually helping them cross over because they're figuring out what they need.
And when.
Absolutely. And when they're ready. And when you're working with, do you work with children most of the time, or you have most of the time?
In schools, obviously, I'm doing the kids pre-K through 12th grade. But I also, in private practice, all ages. And I do a lot of work with adults.
Yep. So it helps on every level, but I'm sure it's absolutely wonderful when you're working with kids too.
And what's interesting is how many kids are real intuitive.
Oh my God.
It's very interesting, especially like K through 2nd grade.
I've been telling
amazed.
people that we have so many crystal children coming in because we used to have this gray area in life, and now everything is very black and white.
Yeah.
And so they're sending us the white light children that are like very old souls that are really taking care of us and helping us out.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful
and
thing.
And oftentimes they've reached out and tried to help me or help their teacher. So yeah, there are a lot of them.
So if you want to get a hold of Cecelia, do you have a Facebook page?
I'm working on setting all of that up right now.
So just contact me and I'll get
start with you.
Start with me, and
but
we'll
watch
go from
for
there.
the Healer's Cottage, because that's
The Healer's Cottage.
That's where I'm headed
Excellent.
with,
I'm excited for that. I'm excited.
I am too.
There's just so many things that you do that I think it's so fascinating, because we get along so well, but a lot of the stuff we do is very opposite, but it works. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we almost complement each
Yes,
other with it.
absolutely.
Yeah, I felt that right away.
I did too. Well, the first time I met her, I just felt like it was very cool the way that worked.
Well, I felt the same way, and everybody should come see you and get
Thank
involved
you.
in some aspect
Thank
of
you
the
so
mind's
much.
eye.
And she just tried to revolt a little bit, but I got her to come on the show today, and she was sitting there like a little bit like that, and I said,
Like I said, my first Hollywood experience.
yes, but you also know that we never ever have a problem talking for a half
Well, that's true. That is very true.
We're very good at doing that. I thank you so much for joining us today.
It was
You've been
great.
absolutely fabulous. You look fabulous, and I know you've been going through some healing stuff and some changes in your own life, and I thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
I enjoyed it.
Excellent. Have a great day. Thank you. Take care.